Jeff, it's great to be here in Newport, Rhode Island in these last days of summer.
It sure is, Ray. It's still nice out. I mean, sure, there's still plenty of tourists around, but what can you do?
Well, you can look for a place to get a beer. That's what you could do.
I'm with you, and fortunately, I've heard Newport may have a bar or two in town.
And I can confirm those rumors are true.
I have a bar in mind for us today, Ray. We'll just walk right up here on Farewell Street.
Farewell Street. How ominous.
I know, right? So our destination is right here on the corner of Farewell and Marlborough Streets. It's the perfect place for two legend hunters like us to grab a pint. Let's go inside. Welcome to America's oldest continuously operating bar and Newport's most haunted. We've come to the White Horse Tavern to look for ghosts. I'm Jeff Belanger.
And I'm Ray Auger. Welcome to episode 313 of the New England Legends podcast. Thanks for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England one story at a time. Most of our story leads come from you, so please reach out to us anytime through our website or stop us on the street, perhaps.
Sure, yeah.
And please do share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow our community.
We'll go searching for the ghosts of the White Horse Tavern right after this word from this sponsor.
Okay, Jeff, the White Horse Tavern is a nice restaurant with white tablecloths and everything. Not our usual haunt.
No, we like our bars a little more divey. But they do have a bar, about 8 seats, so we should probably grab a couple of chairs before they're gone.
We'll have 2 of those, please.
Cheers.
So the White Horse Tavern is not only the oldest bar in Newport, it's the oldest continually operating bar in America?
Yeah, it is. It was originally built as a home for Francis Brinley and his family back in 1652. In 1673, William Mays Sr. thought this was the perfect location for a tavern and an inn, so he bought the place and expanded the building. Now, he officially obtained his tavern license in 1687, and that's what it's been ever since. Mays' son, William Mays Jr., was also a notorious pirate who sailed the Red Sea and also helped run this tavern back when he was in port and, not busy plundering.
So basically this place has been a tavern for 350 years and it was once run by a pirate?
Yeah, that's it.
I love it so far.
Well, what's not to love?
And it's haunted?
That's what they say.
I guess any building that sticks around for 3.5 centuries is going to pick up a ghost or two.
So true. Now think about this. If we could come back here and sit at the bar on the first day it opened, and then time-lapse like 350 years, imagine what we'd see and overhear.
Well, we'd be here for the last heydays of pirates. We'd hear talk of revolution against the King of England. We'd witness a new nation being born. We'd discuss the Civil War.
Yeah.
Read about the invention of the automobile, electricity, radio, airplane, television, space travel, internet, and the debut of the movie Goonies in 1985. And the birth of the New England Legends podcast in 2017.
Yes, all milestones that could be witnessed right here from this bar.
Hey, we should do that.
Do what?
We'll time travel through the whole thing.
Can we do that?
Of course we can. We time travel every week.
All right.
So let's head back to 1673 and grab that first drink.
It's Friday, September 1st, 1673, here in Newport, Rhode Island, and a brand new tavern has just opened up.
Mays' Tavern looks like the perfect place for a Friday happy hour.
2 pints of your finest ale, please.
Cheers.
Cheers. Drink fast, Ray, because from here we're going to leap ahead almost 30 years to 1702.
Wow, okay. It's now September of 1702, and William Mays Sr. has just passed away, leaving the tavern to his son, the pirate William Mays Jr.
Sure, he's a pirate, but locals still love him.
The locals like him, but the British government does not. He's still a wanted pirate. The heat is on. In an effort to keep the inn and tavern in the family, ownership is transferred to Mary Mays Nichols and her husband, Robert.
So with the tavern safely in other hands, they're free to continue operating without fear of the business being confiscated and shut down by the government.
2 pints of ale, please.
God save the king.
God save the king.
It's now September of 1723. The tavern has been in operation for 50 years now. In that time, there's been the usual bar fights, arguments, lively debates, celebrations, and all the other kinds of events that happen in a busy port city like Newport.
Something seems to have stirred the lunch crowd here at the tavern.
Did you hear that?
I did.
One of the inn's overnight guests seems to have died in his room last night. Mary Nichols and one of her servants just discovered him.
I hear there's some concern over how he died.
Oh, does someone think there could be foul play?
No, but there's talk of a strange illness. Everyone is clearing out. There's worry that it could be contagious.
Maybe we should step outside too.
Oh, wow. Some people in masks are carrying out the body from the upstairs room.
Mary Nichols and her servant girl are also being taken out by some men wearing masks. I think they're being taken to nearby Coasters Harbor Island for quarantine.
Newport is no stranger to outbreaks. There's been smallpox, cholera, and even yellow fever. To keep the population safe, Mary and her servant are being taken away. Still, it's going to be difficult for the two women who may or may not be sick. Coasters Harbor Island is just a short rowboat ride from the coast of Newport. It's 92 acres in size. 7 years ago, in 1716, the government ordered the construction of a hospital on the island to be used as a quarantine. Things look bleak around here.
Yeah, they do. The sick and dying are everywhere. And now Mary Nichols and her servant are mixed among them. I mean, if they weren't sick before, they might be now. After a few weeks, it's clear that Mary Nichols is not sick, but sadly, her servant did get ill and passes away on Coasters Harbor Island.
So sad. We should probably head back to the tavern. Two pints of ale, please. Cheers.
Cheers. It's now September of 1730, and tavern owner Jonathan Nichols gives the business a new name, the White Horse Tavern. The Nichols family lives upstairs and operates the tavern downstairs.
2 pints of... Hey, I was in the middle of placing an order.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We got to keep moving to see it all. It's now September of 1776, and the Nichols family has moved out.
Right. I heard Walter Nichols mumbling that he wanted no part in serving drinks to British or Haitian soldiers that had been garrisoned here.
2 pints of ale, please.
What are you doing? We can't drink with these guys. They're the enemy.
Yeah, that's right. And these are 2 pints less that they're not going to get.
That's a good point. To America.
To America. No offense. And that brings us back to today.
Well, we drank a lot more beer than usual on this trip.
We did, but we spaced it out over decades, so I think we'll be okay.
Fair enough.
So the Nichols family moved back in after the Revolutionary War, and the White Horse Tavern remained in their family until 1895, when it became a boarding house. Now, boarding houses don't make a lot of money, and they tend to get beat up pretty quickly. The White Horse Tavern was no exception. In 1954, the building was in bad shape and had been all but lost before it was purchased again. After 3 years of renovations, it reopened as the White Horse Tavern. It's gone through various owners since, but it now sits as an historic and haunted landmark in Newport.
Today, everyone knows the White Horse Tavern, and given its age and history, a lot of people know it's haunted.
So staff and visitors have reported disembodied footsteps. They've seen the apparition of an old man they assume was the guy who died upstairs from illness back in 1720.
Well, that's a big assumption.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Think of how many people came and went in a place like this. The owners, the guests, visitors, staff. That old man could be anyone.
You're right, but we can't help but try and put a label on anything we can't explain. Staff have also been tapped on the shoulder by a person they can't see. They hear voices and sense the presence of someone there even when the building is empty and closing.
And I'm sure some of these ghosts turn into scapegoats when the waitstaff drops a plate or breaks a glass.
Yeah, that story plays out in countless haunted restaurants and inns. I mean, transient places where untold numbers of people have left some kind of mark behind. So much history was witnessed right here. We can't help but connect to that.
And I'll drink to that. Again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Any excuse to have a beer with ghosts, and we're there.
And that brings us to After the Legend, where we take a deeper dive into this week's story and sometimes veer off course.
After the Legend is brought to you by our Patreon patrons. Our patrons make the magic happen. They support us financially for just $3 per month, though some choose to give us a little more. For that, they get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. Just head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up.
And if you'd like to see some pictures of the White Horse Tavern, you can click on the link in the episode description or go to our website and click on episode 313, White Horse Tavern.
I love the name.
Yeah.
The name is strong.
Yes.
It exudes history, I think.
Been there before?
No, I haven't.
First
but
time, okay.
Can't wait to go.
Yeah, so it's...
Again.
Right.
Excuse me.
A Newport institution. I think everybody sort of knows it.
Yeah. I haven't been to Newport enough.
Yeah.
I love Rhode Island.
So here's I fall into, I think, a lot of traps that those of us who live in a not too far drivable distance fall into with Newport, is that it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Restaurants, bars, and the view is great. The mansions and so on. Summer comes when it's the best time to go, and you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with the tourists.
Right.
And then it's like fall and winter, and you're like, oh, I want to go when it's summer and warm.
You always forget.
And then you just never go.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh.
I'm the same way with Cape Cod.
Yeah.
I'd much rather go in the fall, but summer's much better.
There's a sweet spot for Cape Cod and Newport and places like this. I find like really late September, you get kind of an unseasonably warm day, and there'll be tourists there, but they're local-ish tourists.
Right. The people that know the deal, they know the back roads.
Right.
They're from off island or outside of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But they still know.
They know, yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're
in
the know.
It's not like, oh, we've come from like North Dakota to spend the week here.
Right.
Yeah. No,
that's 2 months. Those people come for 2 months. That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't. They wouldn't risk it late September.
We're the local tourists, I think.
The local tourists, yeah. So there is a sweet spot to check those places out, and then actually, a lot of these towns are really quaint in like the winter when it's decked out for the holidays and stuff. They can be really pretty
because they still thrive. There's still people who live there. Oh, excuse me.
Wow.
Sorry.
See? Scapegoat.
Right? It was a ghost.
It was a ghost, yeah.
It followed us here. Do ghosts follow? Do you ever are you afraid of that?
Happened once.
Did it?
Yeah.
I think you told me this story. Let's hear it again.
Okay. So one time, the Victorian Mansion in Gardner, Mass. We've never done that story.
I don't think so. Put it on your list.
We should probably do that. So, great old Victorian mansion. We filmed Ghost Adventures there. I think Ghost Hunters filmed there. Lots of shows. And so I was getting a tour from the owner, and this was a couple owners ago, going through describing all kinds of crazy stuff, seeing apparitions, little boy running through the room, all this stuff. They might have found bones in the basement, so many things. But then the lamest story he told that night was, he's like, sometimes... Lamest,
yeah. Okay.
My wife and I will be in bed sleeping, and we'll feel someone shaking the foot of the mattress, like someone's just pressing up and down on the
I've felt that before.
So I was like, well, that's weird. I went home that night and got home late and went to sleep, and I woke up because someone was shaking the foot of my mattress.
Really? That was the story you just heard.
That and it was just a few hours early, and I was like, all right, come on. That was psychosomatic, right? I'm like,
sure.
I must have dreamt it. No big deal. I calmed myself down pretty fast because I'm like, all right, come on. And then I was just taking a deep breath and closing my eyes to go back to sleep. It starts again. And I'm like, oh no, I know I'm awake now. Like that wasn't a dream. I'm awake at this point. And I sat there for a long time waiting for some other shoe to drop, but
nothing.
That was it. That was the only
one time.
That was it.
And then it went back.
Called
a cab, called Uber, and went back to its original haunt.
The ghostly Uber, and said, I can't stay here. This guy's unshakable.
You ever wonder how a ghost would get back, or what happens once he's in your house and then you don't feel that sensation anymore? So the ghost must be gone. Did it go back? Does it have to walk? Does it just all of a sudden it just transports in space and time?
I've said before, I think ghosts have a lot more to do with the living than the dead, right? So I think some of us tune in to something and we bring it forth.
Maybe we bring a portion of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's not the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think, is that consciousness being sucked out of wherever it is and being, oh God, I'll be right back, Ray. I'm sorry. Someone's summoning me here on Earth, right? Won't be a minute. I got to go shake a bed. I'll be right back. I get it.
So maybe at the end of your hunting day, you go somewhere else.
Right.
And then whatever it may be.
Probably some ghostly bar.
But then you get points wherever you are. let's call it heaven, just for the
Right,
sake of
sure.
argument. You're in heaven, and you're doing good up there, and you
Yeah.
get some points, and you accumulate enough points where you're like, oh, I get to go back to my childhood home and haunt somebody there. That's great. Just one night, though. You don't have enough points for a weekend.
Right. I would really like to haunt people.
Right.
I would get into that big time.
You got a list.
I would be like,
You're doing all the good chores up there just to get the points to go down to that bully that messed you up in grade school.
I've spent a lifetime studying paranormal phenomena. I've got good ideas. Right. I know it works.
Yeah.
Right. I know like the stuff that like no one falls for, and I know the stuff that like you know what's funny? It's like just the subtlest like
Oh, yeah.
right behind the headboard.
Yeah.
Over and over.
It's got to be a mouse, right?
No,
That's
mice
too loud for a
scratch-
mouse.
No, that's right there. And
But it's funny you say this, the pushing on the bed, because I've felt that sensation before. And you think it's a cat because we have cats.
Right.
And then you look down, there's no cat. But it's a very distinct,
yeah,
like the bed is moving.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
yeah,
And I can't explain it. And it only happened a couple times.
right. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. But yeah. So, but the White Horse Tavern is one of these places. It is pretty nice when you walk in. If you're like a shorts and t-shirt kind of person, you might feel underdressed.
Oh, really?
When you first walk in, because it is sort of a nice sit down restaurant with just like I think it was 8 bar stools, literally, like just a nice little corner.
Yep.
Decorative bar. And
That was me walking through Mystic
yeah.
on Friday and Saturday with my shorts and my, I'm with stupid t-shirt on.
Sure.
And looking in every place like, oh, those people have button-down shirts.
Can't go there.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of places you could go.
Couldn't find a lot there.
Really?
Yeah. It's a nicer.
Yeah.
Nicer town.
Give me a dive bar.
Oh, yeah.
wanna
No
s-
dive bars there.
I want to see someone in like a work uniform at the bar.
Right.
Someone else who looks like, are those your pajamas? Right. And they're like, yeah, it just saves me the trouble. When I get home, I can just fall into bed. I'm like, that's smart. That's just smart.
Believe it or not, Mystic Pizza was as close to a dive bar as you could get.
Oh.
They have the restaurant section, which is nice, but they have
Yeah.
where you get the takeout pizza.
Did you
It's
try
a
it?
little bit of a bar. Last time I was there, and it's not that great.
Yeah. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. No. I mean, it's fine. It's pizza,
Yeah. You're
right?
like,
But
you
it's
saw
not.
the movie and you're like, oh, I want to go have Mystic Pizza.
But why would I think just because the movie pizza was good, the actual pizza would be fantastic 30 years later?
yeah. Yeah. I
So
don't know.
I set my expectations too high.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I mean, where else could they be after like the movie, right? You're like, oh, this must be the place. But
That's it.
Yeah. No, I get it. So anyway, one thing we didn't say enough about Coasters Harbor Island, which now isn't really an island. There's bridges. It's a short drive. It's connected there to Newport. That was quarantine, and there's some really frightening records that you can still see online that shows the names of people and when they died and the quarantine and stuff. And you forget. I mean, I know we lived through COVID, but there was multiple quarantine islands in Newport. There was this one, but there was also Rose Island, which we covered on the TV series, on the New England Legends TV series that you can watch on Amazon Prime right now. There was a military fort out there originally, but then they built Fort Adams on the mainland, much bigger and more imposing. And during one of the I think it was cholera, they brought people out to this barracks basically to die. And there's mass
Did we
graves.
cover that before?
We covered it in the TV show. I don't know if we covered it in the.
And you see it going to Newport, right? It's
When
like
you're on the
right
bridge.
there on the bridge. Yeah, I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was a shout out to Fitch, our buddy Fitch, who was going down to that area
Oh, maybe.
and wanted to visit some of the places we talked about. But maybe he picked it up from the TV show.
So yeah, when you're driving over the Newport Bridge, if you're going into Newport, you look off to the right.
Yeah,
and
I've seen
there's
it.
an island and a lighthouse. That's Rose Island.
He also wants us to go. He wants to take a field trip.
Oh,
He wants the three of us.
well, he's
Because
gonna
then he'll feel famous or something.
gonna
I
have
don't know
to
if he
buy all
hangs
the.
out with us.
I mean, we'll have to. Oh, we
He's a drinker, though. He's a beer drinker, so
We'll have to
could
buy.
be fun.
Yeah,
Well, he can buy.
Yeah, all
He's
right.
hanging out with the famous people.
that's right. That's the least
We
you
don't
can do.
pay
I
for
guess.
our beer.
But now Coasters Harbor Island, anyway, is obviously it's a well developed, beautiful area. But at one point, quarantine.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts because it's free and we don't want you to miss a thing. You can also watch the New England Legends television series right now on Amazon Prime. And please tell a friend or two about the show and post a review for us. That's how we grow this community.
We'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our Patreon patrons, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
The bizarre is closer than you think.